blasted.
Yeah, that's what I need. Hi. Oh, by the way, nice to meet you. Chelsea, how do I pronounce your name?
It's Pratik.
Pratik, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Gail, we good to go, do you think?
I guess we are,
right.
and there are a few people waiting in here as well. Should we admit that?
Perfect. I'm going to let people in and give people a minute or two to just filter on in, as I know people sometimes take a few seconds, then you snooze, you lose. And we'll get started in a minute or so. But thank you everyone who's joining us. Also on LinkedIn and on YouTube. We found there are a lot of viewers, not just in our Google Meets. So thanks for joining, and had a lot of great RSVPs. So looking forward to seeing a full house here. We'll just give it another minute, then I'll introduce Chelsea and we're gonna get started. All right, I decided that was the minute. Let's call it 10 seconds. Let's get started. It's already 5:03. We always run out of time anyway. So if anyone is straggling in, just let me know if you guys want the video. We always post it to our community. I am putting up Chelsea's LinkedIn. I almost said Facebook. That's how old I am. LinkedIn profile for everyone. So check her out. And at the end, I'll also give a little plug for Chelsea as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to have Chelsea. I was telling Andrew Gilligan and Pratik before everyone came on. Chelsea and I met a few months back, and I've always been incredibly impressed by her hustle. And she is truly someone I look up to for her LinkedIn game and just generally being a badass mom. Let me just call it what it is. But so Chelsea Olsen, she's a powerhouse in modern sales and social selling, and she's on the go-to-market side. So she has over 15 years advising brands from startups to huge national nonprofits, turning cold pipelines into steady streams of revenue. And she's also the founder of Close, which is spelled CLOHZ, but if you want to close those deals. I assume that's where you got the name, Chelsea, or did I just make that up?
You did, yes, you got it.
Look at that. So Close, CLOHZ, co-founder there, or founder rather, and created her acclaimed LinkedIn Accelerator. So you guys should all check that out. And it's a framework that helped thousands and continues to help thousands of sellers and marketers master LinkedIn, automate outreach using various techniques, including AI, and consistently beating their quotas. So I look forward to meeting with Chelsea on a personal level as well. We have a meeting next week where we're going to talk about working together. So I hope you all will consider working with her. So Chelsea, what led you, we're just going to start nice and easy because I am just so curious about Close. You started in 2017, correct? Or somewhere around there?
Yes. So in 2017, I entered a new role. I worked in banking and finance for a long time. Then after I had my daughter, I took 2 years off and switched into a new role as the head of business development for an ad agency. And the audience was, the target audience was not anything I knew about. It was nonprofits, and it was just a completely different industry for me. So I developed the sales playbook. It worked really well at this agency. And then I started to just teach people I knew, like, hey, I figured out this way to get new clients, and it's working, and it's using LinkedIn. Prior to that, in 2010, I was using LinkedIn for different, roles that I was having at the time to get some meetings. So I kind of just was like, let me try it when I got the role in 2017. And it started kind of just like consulting and teaching. And from there, snowballed.
That's awesome, Chelsea. Really inspirational. No less being a mother, but also a founder. I am always very impressed with how hard you're always working. So let's get into it. We had a little bit of a pregame conversation. I don't want to say that you're an AI skeptic. That brings like a negative connotation into it. But you correctly have doubts or concerns around where AI is today. So you built a business around LinkedIn long before it was trendy. Now we're talking about 2017. How are you now incorporating practical ways to use automation? Let's start there. And if you want to call it AI or whatever you want to call it, go ahead. But what has been your general approach first? Before it was trendy, how did you realize that LinkedIn was a good forum? And then incorporating practical ways to automate. Where are you today with that?
Yeah, so back in 2010, I was doing outreach because I needed to book meetings, and it was just a good way to access people. It wasn't so easy to get emails back then. You had to buy leads, and it was just a lot. So I was using it that way. And then in 2017, when I went really hard with it and then started to realize, how well it worked for me to hit my goals at this agency and for everyone else there to hit it, then I started spreading out into different industries and realizing, wow, this method works. That was kind of just the writing on the wall that I needed to know that this can be a great foundation for a sales strategy. It's not, by any means, it's not the only thing, right? So we do LinkedIn for identifying prospects, some outreach, and then we do cold email and cold calling. So that working together works really well. When it came to AI, I started to incorporate that around like 2020. So I think that's the dates. I mean, I'm an old lady, I forget. But like between 2017 and 2020, it was very manual. So I was hiring humans to run the outbound plan that I developed. So even other companies, like they would look to me and be like, well, we can hire people and we can place them into your business and they can do the outreach for you, the commenting, the messages, the emails, the cold calls, right? They can send something in the mail. And then in 2020, I found out about LinkedIn Helper. Do you know what that is?
No, I actually don't. Yeah, could you explain it?
It was one of the very early tools for automation. So it doesn't personalize the outreach. You have to program it, but it was very great. So it would attach onto LinkedIn and you could automate the connection request. You can automate the messages with it, but it was clunky. So the user experience was a challenge. And we, like my company, would have to run it for people. So we ended up becoming, at that time, it was more like a done for you lead gen agency because we had to run the back end for everyone. They just, again, the tool, it was a great tool as far as the function of it and what it did, but people just couldn't figure out how to use it. So we did a lot of done for you campaigns at that time. And I would try to train people here and there, but it was more of a done for you service.
Do you still feel today a done for you service is necessary in LinkedIn, or is that just an option that you still offer for someone who may not want to do it on their own?
So I don't actually even offer done for you anymore. I phased that out in 2023. By 2023, there were tech tools that were so easy to leverage and use. We did not need to offer done for you model. And that's when I decided, and towards the end of 2023 and really in 2024, to segue towards just doing sales enablement and training. Also last year, I kind of pulled back from a lot of the AI and automation because it was working against us. And I started seeing that in 2023 is kind of when I did my rebrand. So there's a lot of tools like you can use Dripify. I mean, Connected. The tools are endless. Hey, Reach, like you name them. I'm sure you know a bunch of them too. Like there's no lack in having a tool that can automate connection requests, send messages, and that's the problem. In 2020, no one knew about it. So when we sent a connection request and then I had a human send an email, or use something like Mailstand or Lemlist, which is very early on, to send an email through automation, people felt like we were actually reaching out to them. No one was spamming. This was not something that people were used to, and it worked really well. And when we leveraged these tools for a couple of years, the results were amazing. But then by 2023, it all dipped and it stopped working. And that's where I said, we need to pivot.
And that's a really nice segue, I think, to the next question. And this may or may not have to do with what happened in 2023. Is AI changing the psychology of how people buy and I guess how we sell? Were people becoming jaded by these messages? Or what do you think the reason in 2023 of all things, that approach just didn't seem to be as effective?
People caught on to the AI and automation. There was so much noise and they started to tune it out. It was inauthentic. So now you kind of have to revert back. And to be honest, I took time in 2023. I took a big break. I took a huge break, took the kids to Europe for the summer, said, I want to figure out where I want to go with this company. I still had some done for you clients and I couldn't release. And, but I really wanted to reflect on what was happening in the market, what was happening with sales, because it was changing so much. And these cold outreach approaches that used to work so well really weren't working as well anymore. Conversion rates were dropping. And what I realized in my time off in my reflection is people have changed the way they buy. And I had to change the way I was selling and the way I was training people and teams how to sell.
Very interesting. And you've trained just so many different teams over the years. Yeah. What's your approach today to, I mean, obviously without giving all the trade secrets away, all the good ones, we'll keep that for the paying customers. But what's your approach to teaching the automation or AI tools in a way that sticks and doesn't overwhelm non-technical people and also seems authentic? I'm going to just kind of pivot 1 second as a side note. I see your posts; they're very authentic. They're not they're not ChatGPT generated. They're not GPT generated. I could tell you put thought into it. As we were talking about, you're a marathon walker. It also seems like, if anyone checks out Chelsea. So with all of that, what do you think sort of with training these teams and the approach to teaching AI today, how do you make things seem authentic when it's so easy to just put it in ChatGPT, but that's not so effective anymore?
Well, first we need to talk about how people buy today. And this is really, really important. So back in the day, let's say early 2000s, you could do direct outreach, a cold call, an email if you were lucky, a LinkedIn message, right, in 2010. And you can ask somebody for a meeting. And typically, if they were slightly interested in what you said, they would have to book the meeting. They weren't at the point yet where they could do their own research. So it was very direct. You do the outreach. If they're interested, they book the meeting. Today, that's not how it is. People are 70% through their buying decision before they ever talk to a sales rep. They consume at least 13 pieces of content. So the funnel has changed. The buyer journey has changed. So today, when you do your outreach, people will do their own research before booking a call. They're not just going to book with you. The first thing they're going to do is go to that LinkedIn profile of the person that's on the outreach. So let's say, Ross, you send someone an email about custom, AI studios, and then they're not going to just book a call with you. They're going to go to your LinkedIn profile first. They're going to check out what you do. They're going to go to the business page. They're going to go to the website. Then if they like what they see and you've educated them properly through your content, then they may book the call if you have done a good job, right, through your content. So that's what I realized is in 2023, I realized, oh my goodness, content is a huge part of this, something I've been completely missing because I've been focused on the past 15 years all on pitching and strategy and sales and outbound and grinding and cold calling and coffees for closers and that whole mentality, that I miss the fact that content is such an important part of sales, and it evaded me. I had no idea. So that was a big awakening. And today, if you're going to do sales, you need to make sure that, yes, you can leverage AI and you have to do outbound, and I'll talk about that in a second, but you also need the content there for people to consume, and you need clarity. And that's the part most people are missing. That's the part I feel like I need to help people with the most, because they're not aiding people in the research, and they can have the best AI agents, the best humans doing outreach, but if they don't have a way to support buyers doing their own research, it's killing the deal before it even starts.
That's fascinating. I was, while you were saying 70% of people have already kind of arrived at a decision, or at least narrowed down their decision, I was thinking, how do I buy things? And it's exactly that. And maybe it's just because I'm just like so in my head and I think I know everything. I'm probably like 98% of the way there before I even book a meeting. So not sure if this is like an interesting question. It just came to my mind. It's interesting to me. So hopefully you find it interesting and others do. I post, and first of all, I don't think people need to post every day on LinkedIn. And as you said in a previous post, I think it's that people become obsessed with posting. And I even responded to you as like, I think I'm one of those people. I think I just like have all these things that I think everyone wants to hear, but do they really? Is it the quantity of the posts, the quality, both? Is it historical posts that you see people looking back at? Or is it, hey, that day, today, my post resonated with someone, with you, Chelsea, and that was the reason you came to me? Or is it just a historic, every week posting consistently good content?
Yeah, well, with LinkedIn specifically, you have to be really careful, because unless you know the rules of creating content on LinkedIn, the content's not really going to help you that much. So there's a specific way to write for this platform to get results, and there's a specific way to post and create content, which no AI tool really understands. So even if you're using AI, you have to edit it as a human being before you post it. I'd say the best tool, okay, for creating content on LinkedIn is something called Magic Post. They're the ones that get it right the most. And I used them early on. I went off them. I used Supergrow and all these other tools. I trained my own custom GPT, which I really love my own GPT, but I'm not going to share it. And Magic Post is like right there with my GPT. I mean, mine's a little better, but Magic Post is really good for writing content in the right format. That is something that you need to learn how to do if you are going to create content for people. You have to learn how to write in this formatting, and also how to communicate very clearly and understand that people's brains are overwhelmed. They're seeing 10,000 ads a day, hundreds and hundreds of messages. So you have about 5 seconds, if you're lucky, maybe more like 3, to grab their attention. So you have to simplify things for people. And that's something AI can help you do, but you do need a human in the mix on your content. That's going to be really important. And it's not so much about quantity. It's more important that you have clarity and that you're not being clever in what you're saying. You're being clear and you're supporting buyers. So, you know, some people are not even going to post more than once a month, and that's okay. When they do post, we want to make sure it's clear. And then also that there's key content pillars on the profile pinned on the featured section. So when someone does come to the profile, they could be educated on what it is that person's selling.
That's great, Chelsea. I threw the magicpost.in, assuming this is what you're referring to, into the chat if anyone's interested. But really, at the end of the day, what I'm taking away from this is, selfishly, I'm glad I'm meeting with you next week. Like, I've been doing it all wrong, and I'm glad I got onto your busy schedule, and I hope others will too, for the reasons that you just outlined. It's about clarity, and there's a way of doing it that, unless you've been doing it for a while or someone teaches you, like you, Chelsea, little old me's not going to know. And I'm just posting into the breeze and into the ether for really my own enjoyment, which I don't know, I get a kick out of it, but I don't think that's what a CRO is exactly supposed to do, is just get a kick out of what they're doing. So that's really cool. Well, hopefully some folks will check out the magicpost.in. I look forward to looking it up as well afterwards to see what that's all about. I think to the point of what you're making though with AI, and again, we spoke about this a little bit offline and couldn't agree more with you. You have to keep a close eye on anything that's generative AI driven, assuming if you're using a GPT of some sort, you have to be very careful. If you have your own database and you align it so that only your information's there and that's all the agent sees, or AI, whatever, that's a different story. But for the most part, just kind of throw something into the ether and have it come back to you from ChatGPT. It doesn't do it, and it doesn't sound human, and anyone could see it from a mile away, and it just seems unbecoming. So again, glad that we have this meeting next week. I'm excited for it. Let's get back on topic. So I found I have this newsletter that comes out weekly, and I'm able to track how many people are looking, all the clicks. The ones that always get the biggest rise and the most clicks and most people, believe it or not, is on ethics. It's kind of a boring topic, but people are really interested in ethics. I was a little surprised. I wrote one about AI and how it mimics the human body. I was thrilled. I thought this was going to be killer. No one read it. But ethics matters a lot. So where do you draw the ethical line, or is it not really important to you on a day-to-day basis because what you're doing is not like on a shady ethical ground, or is it something you think of? You know, the ethics of using AI, the ethics just generally of AI machine learning.
I absolutely think about the ethics. And when I meet with teams, the first thing I do is I audit and I see how they're currently leveraging AI. When I sit with them, oftentimes they've been spamming. And by the way, I get it. I'm a brand ambassador for Dripify. I use automation, right? Like, I'm not immune to that. I've shared that many times on LinkedIn, but you have to use it the right way. And a lot of times teams are using AI and automation the wrong way, especially on LinkedIn. They're connecting with, anywhere from 100 to 200 people a week. They're sending these long follow-up messages, and then they're turning to me and saying, well, LinkedIn doesn't generate revenue. It doesn't work. I've seen people, just even friends of mine that have sent 5,000 connection requests a whole year and not book one deal. I've seen whole teams. I've seen teams of 40, 50, 100 people who are barely getting any booked meetings from LinkedIn because they're automating. And essentially what they're doing is spamming. And is it highly unethical? I mean, I think certain things are, right, in life. I don't know if we can say that about business. It's just not best practice. It's not a good look. You're going to burn your leads. You're going to burn your brand. I don't know if it's necessarily like an ethical question, right? Like, I guess that's a deeper philosophical thing. But it's definitely a bad decision. Definitely a bad decision to spam everybody.
No doubt. And kind of my conclusions with the ethics is like, you kind of hit on it, which is in the business world, there's always like a shady ground of ethics, right? Like people are generally more accepting of people crossing the line for whatever reason. We're like, oh, well, it's just business, this friendship is friendship, business is business. All right, separate it. But, I've always said, like, okay, so let's say you're just like the CEO, and we've all met them, who just, it's the bottom line, right? We don't care how we do it. You get it done. I want investor, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Just the CEO who just doesn't care about ethics, it's going to harm your brand if you do not have a care in the world about it, and it is going to affect your bottom line. So it's right that you start thinking in terms of what effect does spamming have on people, on cold calling the same person 50 times in a week, whatever. It's like all the same issue of personal space, and whether you call it ethics or not, it's somewhere in that mix of respectability, good standards, being a nice person, stuff like that. And it does affect your branding and your bottom line. So that staunch CEO probably should listen just on the grounds you're going to lose business if it's something you don't care about, ethics or whatever you want to call this area.
You know what the problem is, though, to be honest with you, because I work with a lot of these founders and a lot of them in the startup environment, and they've built businesses successfully in the past doing things like cold email and cold calling. So now when they're trying to build in this environment, you have me saying, I get it. I ran this playbook. I built it. I developed it. I get it. I know you think it's going to work because it worked so well in the past. It worked for me too. But hey, guys, like, there's a new way of selling, and maybe just listen to me here. Consider content, consider leading people, consider poking them, getting their attention softly, and then bringing their attention in instead of forcing things upon them because it's not really working. And what I find is many of them don't listen to me, and they actually feel like I'm against AI, and I'm not. I'm all for it. Like, do a cold email campaign in the background, but also do that personalized one-to-one human outreach, specifically on LinkedIn. Send video messages, have humans doing the research, send a personalized email. Lead people in a certain way. But to be honest, these guys, like, most of them are men, they're so fixated on what worked in the past, and they're not understanding how people buy today. And then what's funny is they'll come back and they'll run that cold email campaign. They'll do the stuff where they're spamming everyone on LinkedIn. And they're like, yeah, no, we didn't really get anything. I could have told you that. I could have saved you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars as well. But yeah, it's just where people are at mentally with it and their belief systems. And they just need to go out and do that old same playbook and get beat up to realize, it's typically not working.
I hear you. And to clean the air in case the AI overlords want to come for us, you are not anti-AI. That was not at all the impression I got, but you were thoughtful about your use of AI. And I think that's really important. Where did you get that thoughtfulness? Is it just, hey, I've been there, done that? You're a young gal, but you've done a lot in your very successful career, so you have a lot of experience. Is it kind of from that perspective? Have you gone through some education on AI? How did you arrive at where you are with, again, skeptic is not the right, but being discerning in the type of AI you use, and also being cautious in using AI when it's not appropriate to do so? Where did you kind of get that idea? Because it's not everyone has that.
Yeah, a lot of trial and error. And then again, because I was an early adopter of AI, I ran this playbook. I know how this works. I did all the cold email outreach and the LinkedIn outreach using AI tools and automation. I told you too, like Line, that was one of the first programs I used to be creating personalized messages. Like I did this. I saw it work. I got really excited. And then I saw it completely tank and not work. And realized and sat in that space of it not working and realized, okay, we can't forget the human element of sales, that personalized outreach really matters. And we need to find a balance with it. And we need to know when AI is powerful and should be used. For example, if you have events, if you want to invite people to events, you could do that. If you want to grow, you want to have a personal brand, or you want brand ambassadors for your company and they're going to create content, then just go ahead, start connecting with as many people as possible. Like those things are okay. But if you're going to be using it as a way to just book meetings, you have to be very careful. And we have to make sure that we're using the people too. And plus, like I've A/B tested constantly across all different industries. And you could do 10 personalized video messages to new connects and get 1 to 2 meetings. Or you can send out 1,000 connection requests, spam the crap out of people, and you're probably not even going to get a meeting. So it's just seeing it over and over again made me realize, like, okay, there's a time and a place. I know that time and the place. Like I have conviction in knowing that at this point in my journey. And I know what people need to do. It's just a matter of people understanding that as well. And me communicating that softly in a way that people can accept it, right? Because I know it so much now that sometimes I don't communicate it, I feel like, as softly as I need to.
It's good to be introspective, but I think you do a wonderful job there. Kind of picking up that thread just a little bit here. We touched on it very briefly, but so many reports, whether it's the CEO of Anthropic, what have you, everyone's talking about job replacement. No entry-level jobs are going to be available, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I'm not going to ask you your opinion on that. That's like, just who knows the answer to that. But you do know in sales and marketing, team structures have changed, will change. Where do you see that happening over the next 2 to 3 years? And then if I'm going to take you to task, because I'll give you my little perspective, are you worried about your current job? It's crossed my mind on my current job with AI. So where do you kind of think there?
Yeah, for me, I'm training the sales teams on how to leverage LinkedIn and work it into their sales strategy. So at this point, no, but there will come a point where maybe LinkedIn phases out too, right? Because I used to write email newsletters. I used to do cold calling. I used to do cold email. These were my focuses. Then it came to LinkedIn. So I'm sure there'll come a day, and then maybe we'll be doing like carrier pigeons or something. I don't know. We're gonna have to go completely.
If only.
Like, who knows what's gonna work? So at this point, no. When it comes to other people's jobs, I will say this though. I think right now, people need to become capable and willing to learn how to use AI, especially, let's say, if you're an SDR or a sales rep, or you're full cycle sales, let's say, and you just need to get meetings, you need to be open to learning how to use these tools the right way and not be lazy and think that they're going to do all of the work just because they're here, right? Like, use them, learn how to use them appropriately, still put in the work. And if you do that, you can have amazing results. Where it's going to go in the next couple of years, I have absolutely no idea. Maybe agents, like AI agents, will be selling to each other at a certain point. Who knows?
Yeah, I've had the boring thought process of AI agents selling to each other, where I could see a real role in it. They'll kind of negotiate, they'll figure out is it a good fit for, but I could also see a place where they hit a standstill, where they're kind of like, okay, what's next? And then you bring the humans back in and it's all back to what it usually is. So maybe in the future, there'll be some component of that. I just always wonder, when will the humans come back in? Or I don't know, I guess AI will just buy everything. It's hard to believe that that's a world that we would live in, but one never knows. So I hear you there. Let's see. So what would you like to see in AI in the next 3 to 5 years? That's sort of your prediction. What would be an ideal scenario for you with automation, AI, machine learning, whatever you want to chat about there?
So many things, right? Because I
know so many options.
I want to do everything for me. Let's keep it on sales and marketing. I do love how with sales, marketing, customer success, everything doesn't have to work in silos if you incorporate AI. I think that's really exciting to have a single source of truth and then to get all these departments on the same page because of the AI that's here today. I love that. So from that perspective, I'd want more of that. I'd love if AI could do a bit better of a job at figuring out what to say and personalizing outreach. I've seen all the tools, I feel like, and I'm sure I haven't, but I feel like I've seen all the tools. None of them are doing that great at the personalized outreach. So a little bit more there would be interesting. Because then, again, like the humans can come in and take that, because people struggle with what to say. So if people could take what the AI has given them and then maybe put it in their own words, things like that, I think that would be cool. But when it comes to business in general too, I think we are seeing a revert back to people craving connection. And I don't know if I hold the fear of AI in the same way as a lot of people do. I think it's going to push us towards more deeper relationships and wanting those connections back. And, I'm a strong believer that people can feel, right? They can feel if a message comes from a person, they can, that feeling, that emotion, that's part of sales, that's part of business. So I don't really have so much fears when it comes to AI. I'm just looking forward to seeing what it can do and what it can do for me and my business, because I am fully embracing it. I need everyone to understand that. Like, I have a very slim team. Most of it's AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and from what the sounds of it, you have some proprietary great stuff that you've created and are using. That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's really, that's why, a little plug of us, that's why we do custom type of work. One size fits all, like out of the package, out of the box, sounds cool in theory because it feels like it's cheaper, and and it's just like a car. You just hit the accelerator and it goes. But like a car, you have to adjust the seat, you have to adjust the mirrors. Like, it's not that big a deal, but there are some customizations that make it important and safer and more effective to drive. I don't know if that's even the greatest example, because now AI is driving stuff. So maybe I'm losing that analogy as well, slowly but surely, with Teslas. But it's an interesting point there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, and I think for you guys too, what's going to be really important is a lot of these companies don't understand what's available to them because they are being bombarded by all these other companies with varying tech capabilities, various ways to do things with AI. But if you have one company or one person who could come in and evaluate what you have going on and then build this one system, that's a lot better than having to buy and learn how to use all these different tools. So I think what you're doing is really, really helpful. It's just getting that in front of the right people who are open to it, right? And like a lot of the founders, they're still feeling uneasy when it comes to AI.
No doubt. Right now, the clients that we work with are the early adopters. We're on that side of the curve, like very firmly in that curve. But things move quickly. AI moves quickly. It's all over the place. It's oversaturated. There's going to have to be a bounce back, I would think. The pendulum will eventually swing towards some reasonable medium between, what we call it and what it is and what it can do. I'm excited for that. I guess call me an optimist. I'm excited for the pendulum to swing a little bit back towards reality when it comes to AI, and like we can all just have like a real conversation around like, how are you using AI? I don't know, and we could all just really relate to one another on the difficulties and the challenges where, if you look across the street and you're not a little educated in AI, you'll say, wow, their whole thing is automated. They're crushing it on AI. Or if you're on LinkedIn, you'll have this experience like, wow, I must be really missing something. You're probably not. But if you're an early adopter, like taking risks, I'm a full believer that this is the future. Maybe not exactly in the technology it is today. It's going to be more sophisticated. But I think AI employees, to some degree, with a human in the loop, is going to be the future. And I sort of say, whether we like it or not, it's unfortunately not really up to me and not up to a lot of us. It's just sort of, that's the pendulum is going in that direction. A few more questions, then we'll open it up. And as you can probably see, I'm melting over here. I'm in the UK. It's warm. I love you Europeans, but I was in Paris yesterday. I'm in London now. I guess AC doesn't exist here, and now I'm being like a whiny US American, and I'll take it. But it is hot here. It's beautiful out though. But that's
actually what I love, by the way, about Europe is that I can go on a train or into a hotel or a restaurant and not freeze my ass off. That is my absolute favorite thing about Europe, that I could just enjoy being warm in the summer.
Yeah, well, we also went through that. You like it warmer than hell in New York City, minus
I
the
do.
smells and whatnot. So I guess you're a little cold-blooded, I suppose. You like being on the warmer side. I would rather just be frigid and cold
Oh
and
my gosh.
miserable on the cold end.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I'll take the hot subway. Like, it's fine.
You know, it's funny. This is going to be a little aside, but it's great that you brought up like you just get on a train. Like that's what I did this morning. I was in Paris. I got on the channel. I'm here 2 hours later. I didn't need AI. There was a conductor. Everything was, trust me, very manual to get through border from the EU to the UK because of Brexit. Like it takes forever, but it's very manual still. So I don't know, maybe they could benefit from AI, but like the old school way works just fine. And it's Europe. This is how it goes. And it worked out. I'm here.
Yeah.
All right, back to a little reality here. So when you're coming up with a go-to-market strategy for your clients, and this has nothing necessarily to do with AI, or maybe it does, or automation, how do you come up without, obviously delivering all your amazing secrets? People got to pay the top dollars for that, but how do you come up with it? Their GMT, like, is it GTM rather? Is it speaking with them, looking through their LinkedIn contacts, Googling them? How do you come up with an approach there that's individual and makes sense for that client or that business?
Always starts with an audit. I can't do anything until I talk to the entire team. So key stakeholders, leadership, and then the team itself. So for example, I just trained a fintech company. They had an enterprise level team, mid-market, and then they had an SDR/BDR team, whatever you want to call it. They were just responsible for outbound. I met with every single one of those people individually, and they have a very big team. So I grouped enterprise together, the other two. And I need to get a feel of what they're doing on prospecting, because what I teach is my 6 C's method. It's not just LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the foundation, and then it goes to cold email as well. So I really need to understand what they're doing, also how comfortable they are with different tech stacks. So what are they using? Because sometimes with a team, like that team specifically, I didn't even teach how to use any automation for the outreach. We did everything with just personalized outreach, and they're going to be completely fine. If they do manually 10 to 20 connection requests per day, the way I set them up, using, I didn't even have like scrapers. I didn't even use AvaBoot and scrape stuff out. Like I had them set up their leads inside Account List and Sales Navigator. Like they're doing everything manually. And within even like the first week or two, they had meetings booked at enterprise level. So you don't always need the AI and automation. In some cases, and in some companies and teams, like it's not going to work. But then, I have other companies that I'm fully enabling them to use it. So it's such like a fluffy answer, but you really just need to figure out what's working for the team right now, what they're going to be capable of, what they're going to be willing to do, which is like a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I was going to kind of ask, just out of curiosity, how much pushback do you get from people when you're saying like, hey, I need 30 minutes of your time to sit down? People are like, whoa, 30 minutes. I don't know if I have that. How does that normally go down?
So it's funny. So when I was younger and doing trainings, I used to care so much. And I would try to stay on retainer and hold people accountable and like kind of prove like, hey, this works. Now I'm just, I guess, seasoned at a point where you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Let's say I have a team of 100 sales reps. I mean, how many really do what I say? Maybe 10 dabble with what I say. It's not up to me. I can train them, I can teach them, I can enable them. And then there needs to be somebody at the company that's holding them accountable. And that's a conversation I have in a discovery call, is if you have a team, let's say, 30 people, who is going to hold them accountable to the daily prospecting, because I'm going to teach them how to map out their day, doing the things they're already doing, and how to incorporate this little piece that I'm going to teach them as well. So who's holding them accountable? And if that's a fluffy answer, it pains me, but I've learned to not take the deal, because I am not going to work with companies and teams that aren't going to do the work or be held accountable to the work, because the results won't be there and they won't be happy. So why even take their money? I'm there to build revenue and build a pipeline. Like if that's not going to happen, I'm out.
Yeah, and I think it hits on where that you've made it to this point where you've earned that ability. You're now in the Picasso stage where you get to be a bit more abstract and really let the brush fly a little bit more because you've earned your keep, and that's you then get to be picky. And I think we've all had an experience of a client where we're like, I wish I didn't accept this deal. I know at the time you're like, oh, this is great. I really need it, but we all have that experience where we're like, okay, I'm never doing this again, and then it takes some bravery to say no. So it's great that you do that. Was there a point in your career that you felt that, like, was there a day, or was it just a slow process over like, hey, look, there's only so much I can do, and so many hours in the day to worry about it?
Yeah, well, I am the only one doing trainings right now. I'll bring people in that are highly skilled sometimes to train with me. But it's just me. So I have to be really careful with my own time and selective. It happened over time, but boundaries are interesting because having boundaries costs you, and no one talks about that. Everyone's like, boundaries, yay, slay. But boundaries also cost you financially. Because when you start instilling them into your business, you will lose opportunities, and I have different boundaries around different things. And that's just one at this point, right? One of them is I need the team to be held accountable. I need to know that they are already doing prospecting, that you're holding them to certain metrics, that you're checking in every week, making sure that outbound's happening, that you're not just sitting there going, well, we gauge success on meetings booked. Well, then you're already failing. And if you're not open to holding them accountable to outbound metrics, this program's not going to work, right? Because we can't only look at the booked meetings.
That's really cool. It makes me think of the good old saying, and I'm a huge believer in this. A yes to something is a no to something else. You could reverse it. A no to something opens you up to the yeses on other things. And it takes time to figure out when to say the no to then open yourself up. Because who doesn't want to be a yes man? Especially when you start your career, I'll speak for myself. When I start my career and I was in residency, all I wanted to do was like by my attendings and my patients. And I guess I still want that, but there's a reality, like there's only so much I could do in a day. So it seems like you figured out that balance of like a yes is a no, a no is a yes, to something else. And balancing that whole thing is pretty remarkable. Sounds like you kind of figured it out.
I don't know. I think sometimes I say yes and I'm like, damn it, should have said no, or like
right.
no, and I'm like, wait, should I have said yes? Like when I lose money, because it's hard, like you said, you own this business, right? And I used to be like, yes, money, 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 money. But then now sometimes when I say no, I'm like, am I actually saying no to this? The old me would have slapped me, right? And then like you gotta lean into that gut feeling and follow it, and hopefully make the right decisions. And when you don't, you learn from it, right? I'm not perfect. Trust me, I'm not.
Well, you had me fooled, but knowing that you're a human being, I guess we all make mistakes here and there.
I'm also a founder. Yeah, I'm also a founder. It's not easy.
No, it is not. It is not. Well, I think that's it for my questions. This has been great, Chelsea. I'm sure that there might be a question or two out there. I'm not going to push on anyone, but any questions out there from anyone for Chelsea or for me from the conversation?
So Andrew, thanks you. We did not talk about this. I did not use other platforms because I've been in B2B sales pretty much my whole life. And I stuck with LinkedIn, and that was my choice. I think Twitter's can be great for businesses, but for me personally, at this point, I just don't have the bandwidth. I will be branching out to Instagram. I think that one's important. And only reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to be doing more, because I have a school community right now with a free LinkedIn accelerated training program in it, and I want to get more people in there. So it's going to be like more one-to-many. But for B2B sales, honestly, LinkedIn is just the best bang for your buck and your energy. So that's why I stuck it out on LinkedIn this long. Absolutely. So by the way, like 2023, 2022, I was creating some content on LinkedIn, but it wasn't performing that well. So I figured out what does perform well, and this is really important for everyone to hear. Number one thing that performs well on LinkedIn is a picture of a person. So like a selfie or a professional long photo. Doesn't matter what you look like, it's just what performs well. So it's a photo of a person with copy, with text that's about 100 to 150 words, written in a specific format and very easy to read at like a 5th grade reading level with 1 point per post. Where most people go wrong is that they treat LinkedIn like it is another platform and that these reels are going to do well, or these TikToks or carousels, and sometimes carousels can work, but it's very specific what works here. The other thing is video does work, and there, LinkedIn is really promoting that right now. For me, impressions wise, I don't see huge numbers when it comes to video, but I know it's important. So I definitely think people should put it in the mix. Mine sometimes tend to be too long. Don't follow me. Do like 30 seconds to like 60 seconds for your videos, but make sure that the copy is there. So a lot of people won't actually watch the video. They'll read the copy above it. You have to make sure that you follow those formatting rules. And I actually go over all this in my community. So if you guys, it's free, like you could just join and learn how to write content for LinkedIn. So, but it's like really focusing specifically on like how to do it for this platform.
I'm gonna throw the link here for your your community here. Should be in the meet there. Sorry to interrupt. For anyone who's interested, I'm part of it. I think it's great. There's a great community there, obviously led by Chelsea, and I recommend everyone joining there. I get a lot of cool tips that LinkedIn takes down all your great posts, is what I'm hearing from you. So you got to go somewhere for the goods, and I think I get it here.
I'm on their naughty list. Like I so that's why I opened the school community, because I can talk about lead scraping. I can talk about automation and AI and leveraging tools and hacks and tricks that like I can't talk about on LinkedIn. And I really do want to connect like one-to-one with the actual sellers and the people in a more authentic way.
Awesome. Pratik had a question here. So he said, yes, totally agreed. Seen a lot of people lately do that. I'm not sure what he was referring to. It was a minute or so ago, a portrait along with some good content. Although, how do we make sure the two go together and are relevant? So meaning the portrait and the actual good content, I think is what Pratik is referring to there.
You don't. It's not like that. So it's just people want to see the wizard behind the words. They want to see who's writing it. And it's just what works on LinkedIn. And I had to get past this in my own mind, because when I realized like I had to start posting all these pictures, it was cringy. But it's what works. It's just like the format that works on here. Pictures of people I could share too with you, Ross, and you can send it to people. I have examples of all sorts of types of people across all sorts of industries. So it's not just some like female pretty girl thing like where it works, because that's something like I know a lot of people think, but they want to see you, they want to see who's speaking to them, who's writing. And it's, I think the number is like 600 times the amount of engagement or something like crazy when you just add an image, or sorry, 6 times is the increase in impressions and engagement when you add an image of a person to a post.
Well, you're making me think also of one of my favorite posts of yours. Again, if you like the honesty, hit up Chelsea. Like one of your posts was just about, I guess if you're a young, pretty woman, you probably get 20 times, 20x or whatever. Anyway, I thought it's probably true too, but it was a funny, it was definitely catchy. I think you caught some interesting comments from that, I think.
Yeah, it was the hot girl chart. It's like the hotter you are as a girl, the less amount of outbound you have to do. So if you're a guy, like you have to do the most amount of outbounds. And then if you're a hot girl, you have to do the least amount. Not everyone really appreciated it. So I'm glad you did. I'm glad you get it.
Oh, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. And Anna just said, I posted a picture of me plus short copy this week when I was attending an event. So it was very authentic and raw, and people seemed to love it. Anna, if you don't mind going off mute, I don't want to put you on the spot, but where were you and what did you get out of the event? Be curious.
Hi, sure. Yeah. So I was attending an event here in Spain. It was like an AI event technology. So I just took like this kind of classic conference picture of myself, and then like I'm here, come say hi to me if you're also here. So and nothing else. And then I really like posted and ghosted also, but it got quite a good amount of impressions, even though I wasn't like active on LinkedIn that day.
And that imagine if you were commenting back for the first hour, which is, like you would have had even more. That's awesome. I have a client who teaches English in Spain to companies, and she's doing something very similar, and it's working for her as well. So keep it up.
Okay.
That's awesome. It occurs to me, maybe it's just our American arrogance, but in the US, we seem to think Europe is so behind us in AI. That's not the case. You brought up a great conference that you were at in Paris this past week. That's why Jess Robertson, when I saw her in Paris, she was at a conference. She said it was one of the biggest AI conferences she's seen and the most successful, and people were hungry, excited, and it was all the European crew. So yeah, Americans, you can say whatever you want. It's very active here, and there's some great stuff going on in Europe too. So, don't just think it's an American phenomenon. Do you do much work in Europe, Chelsea?
No, I don't do much work in Europe. I have a couple of clients. That's it. I really like the one in Spain. The whole reason was because I wanted to go meet her and eat tapas. And I was like, we're just going to work together for that.
I love that. Well, next time you have to go, I'll drag myself there. It'll be really tough for me, but
we'll do like a group podcast over in Spain. I think it'll be good.
As long as you bring the cool microphone, that's my only request.
I know, you can't.
You can see a little bit of a hint of it there.
More in the frame.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Well, anyone have one last question or thought here? Otherwise, Chelsea's been very generous with her time, but any last second questions or thoughts before we go? Oh, cool. I'll take that as you snooze, you lose. But again, let me get Chelsea's LinkedIn up in the feed. I'm just bringing it up. Please check her out. Say hi, friend her, all of that jazz. It's easy to schedule with her. She's the wizard, but you could visit her website. If you hit more, you could very easily schedule a time with her. So please do that. While we're doing it, for those who have not and newcomers, check out our community. It's free as well, and we chat about more AI stuff. We're AI nerds over at Custom AI Studio. So if you want to nerd out a little bit, but it's for anyone at any level. I don't know how to code, so it's for coders and non-coders alike. Chelsea, any last second thing before we go? I can't thank you enough. This is awesome, but anything before we go?
I want to thank you guys for giving me an hour of your time. I know how valuable it is and how limited time is today. So thank you for having me and listening. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I promise I will answer any questions. Just remind me that you tuned in and we met here, and I will get back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Anna. And thank you, everyone. I'll echo what Chelsea said. Thank you for spending time with us. And Chelsea, thank you so much for spending your time. This is a blast. We're going to do it in your official podcast studio next time.
Yes,
so we're going to do it up next time.
Awesome. All right. Bye, guys.
All right, everyone. Be well.